and I was attacked. I need to get back home. I'm trying to get back home, man. I'm trying to get it.
Well, like, I wonder why I was chosen to be an addict.
Welcome to U.S. Homeless Stories. In the dim back streets of Philadelphia, fragile hope battles crushing despair in a neighborhood once alive with industrial promise and the American dream's heartbeat. Now, they call Kensington the Zombie City, or Land of the Zombie, a haunting moniker born from fentanyl laced with tranq, twisting human bodies into bent, ulcerated shells that shamble like the undead. Their skin rotting from wounds that refuse to heal, a living nightmare devouring souls in broad daylight. In 2024, over 5,091 hearts slept unsheltered in Philadelphia, a gut-wrenching 10% rise per pit counts. Xylazine tainted 90% of opioid samples in 2021, fueling non-healing sores and amputations. Overdoses claimed 1,122 lives in 2023. As U.S. Homeless Stories uncovers these raw truths, what if your streets hide this horror? What if your familiar paths conceal this apocalyptic horror? Kensington's tranq fentanyl curse explodes bodies into frozen grotesques, stripping away humanity. Can this wounded heart of the city pulse with life again before darkness claims it forever? Dive deeper. What shadows haunt your own world? One, the reality on the ground in Kensington. Walking down Kensington High Street, you felt it before you saw it, the lingering pain in the air. Cool products fluttered gently in the wind, stacked close together along the creases. Below, people moved slowly, clad in layers of old fabric, their glasses darkened by sleepless nights. The city passed, but here time repeated itself. Each breath felt heavier, as if the street itself carried the weight of lost dreams. Under a dim streetlight on Kensington Avenue, a man named Thomas sat alone, clutching a torn blanket against the biting wind. His shoes were soaked, his hands cracked from the cold.
I don't have too many complaints right now. I had, obviously on the street, 2 years. I was kind of bored and tired.
As dusk falls over Kensington, the blue light gradually fades to orange. The world outside continues to move. But here, each night is a private battle. 2. The central role of fentanyl.
I've always known about Philly because it's a place where there's always been more heroin addicts using.
In the heart of Kensington, fentanyl isn't just a drug. It's a haunting presence that has seeped into the very soul of the streets. Its power is terrifying. A few grains no larger than salt can end a life. It doesn't ask questions. It doesn't discriminate. Once it enters a neighborhood, it spreads like wildfire, quiet, invisible, unstoppable. Today, almost every overdose death in Philadelphia carries its mark, leaving families shattered and communities grasping for answers. Walking these streets, you see its toll not in statistics, but in faces. The hum of the city fades here, replaced by the distant wail of ambulances and the soft sound of Narcan kits snapping open. Outreach workers move with practiced urgency, reviving lives on the edge, again and again. Yet each revival feels like a brief pause, not a rescue, because tomorrow the struggle begins all over.
And around us, and that we don't even know about them. And they're just undermining us as all along the way. It's my fault that I'm an addict, in a way.
I started off with friends with drink and smoke, struggled with crack cocaine and alcohol, and drugs always were in the house, and just escalated. Relationships with my kids, my family, friends, myself. Like, I wonder why I was chosen to be an addict.
This is what U.S. Homeless Stories seeks to uncover, the fragile truth of how addiction begins, not with bad people, but with broken hearts and unbearable pain. Fentanyl preys on that weakness, offering comfort that turns to chains. This isn't just a story about drugs. It's a story about loss, forgiveness, Three, homelessness as a symptom of deeper issues. Homelessness in Kensington isn't just about the absence of a roof. It's the absence of security, belonging, and hope. Every tarp and tent here holds more than a person. It holds the echoes of dreams once within reach. These aren't faceless strangers, but mothers, veterans, and sons whose lives were slowly undone by forces far beyond their control. The deeper you look, the clearer it becomes that this crisis was never just personal, it's systemic. Decades of neglect, redlining, and economic decline have chipped away at the foundation of working-class communities. Factories that once fed families now stand as hollow monuments to better times. The promise of opportunity has faded, replaced by a daily struggle to survive in a system that forgot how to protect its people. Rising rents, stagnant wages, and the unrelenting cost of living push families to the brink. One illness, one layoff, one unpaid bill, and everything unravels. In Philadelphia, nearly 70% of those without homes struggle with untreated mental health issues or addiction, yet clinics remain underfunded and shelters overcrowded. The streets of Kensington reveal not failure, but fragility, a reflection of how close we all are to losing our footing when compassion fades. When I walk through these blocks filming for U.S. Homeless Stories, I see the truth most overlook. I see strength in the eyes of people society has written off. I see humanity clinging to warmth in the cold. And in those quiet moments, amid tents, whispers, and worn faces, I'm reminded that homelessness isn't a moral flaw. It's the price we all pay when empathy disappears from our collective heart. Four, root causes of the crisis. Kensington's pain didn't happen overnight. It's the result of decades of slow collapse. This neighborhood once thrived with factories, hard work, and community pride. Families believed in the promise that effort would bring stability. But when industries moved overseas and machines replaced people, jobs disappeared, and hope followed. The echoes of factory whistles faded, leaving behind silence and struggle. Today, with a median income around $25,000, less than half the national average, many residents live one setback away from losing everything. The housing crisis has turned that fragility into desperation. In Philadelphia, more than 40,000 renters now spend over half their income just to stay housed, while public housing waitlists stretch endlessly. evictions rose again in 2024, pushing countless families into overcrowded rooms or the streets of Kensington. The aging row homes here have become shelters of last resort, fragile spaces where survival replaces comfort. Each doorway holds a story of someone who once had stability, now fighting daily to stay afloat. Mental health and addiction issues compound the crisis. When state hospitals closed decades ago, community care never caught up. The pandemic deepened isolation, and fentanyl filled the void, cheap, deadly, and merciless. On Kensington Avenue, addiction isn't just seen in faces, it's felt in the air, heavy with pain and loss. At US Homeless Stories, we've met people who show that homelessness isn't about bad choices, it's about broken systems and forgotten compassion. Kensington stands as a mirror reflecting what happens when a society stops investing in its people. Behind every tent, every weary face, lies a story worth hearing, and a reminder that real change begins when we dare to care.
Back out here, I have to see it.
5. Voices of the homeless. In the midst of Kensington's evolving landscape, the voices of those experiencing homelessness rise with raw honesty, painting a picture of resilience amid ongoing struggles. As of mid-2025, with Philadelphia's unsheltered population stabilizing around 4,800 according to the latest HUD point-in-time count, a slight dip from prior years due to expanded outreach, these personal accounts highlight both progress and persistent gaps. One resident shares, "I've been out here for years, watching the tents multiply. But now with the new wellness court offering paths to recovery instead of punishment, there's a whisper of change." This echoes the sentiments of many who navigate the avenues where synthetic substances like fentanyl mixed with additives continue to complicate daily existence. Though national trends show it easing in the most intense phases, per NPR reports from March 2025. Another voice emerges from the shadows. "We come from everywhere, lost jobs, broken families, and get caught in this web. The PIE efforts by the city are starting to reach us, but we need more than promises." In Kensington, where the poverty rate remains stubbornly high at 38%, as per recent census updates, these stories underscore the human cost of economic divides. A young adult adds, "Dreams fade fast without steady ground, but community cleanups give us a sense of belonging." These narratives, collected through grassroots interviews, reveal a chorus calling for sustained support, from job training to mental health resources. US Homeless Stories amplifies these perspectives to foster empathy. Have you ever paused to consider what one conversation could change? Transitioning to the hidden routines that define survival, we uncover the quiet battles fought away from prying eyes. What hidden strengths do these individuals draw upon daily? From my viewpoint, these voices teach us that listening actively builds bridges, reminding us that every story shared plants seeds for collective healing. In turn, honoring them inspires us to advocate for voices often silenced, creating spaces where everyone feels seen and valued. Six. Life in the shadows of the homeless. Beneath Kensington's surface lies a world of shadowed existence, where individuals carve out survival in overlooked corners, adapting to an environment that's both harsh and unforgiving. By October 2025, with the city's mobile service restrictions taking effect to streamline aid distribution, impacting over 20 outreach vans per YNFYY updates, these hidden lives adapt in creative ways, finding refuge in abandoned structures or clustered encampments that house roughly 650 people nightly, down from peaks, but still a dense hub on the East Coast. The air thickens with the remnants of daily routines, scavenging for essentials, sharing meager resources, and building informal networks that offer fleeting security. In these shadows, routines unfold with quiet determination, waking at dawn to avoid crowds, queuing for limited meals from non-profits like Project Home, which expanded to 1,200 supportive units this year. It's about staying unseen to stay safe, one person confides, highlighting how the mix of substances complicates mobility, though harm reduction programs like Prevention Point have distributed over 50,000 kits in 2025 alone, fostering small victories. Economic pressures persist, with local wages averaging $28,000 annually amid rising costs, pushing many into this twilight zone, where dignity is reclaimed through small acts, like tending community gardens, sprouting in vacant lots. U.S. Homeless Stories sheds light on these obscured paths to humanize the experience. What simple comforts do we take for granted that could transform someone's day? As we move toward mobilizing change, these glimpses urge us to act with intention. How can everyday choices illuminate these hidden worlds? Personally, observing this resilience reveals that shadows hold profound lessons in adaptability, encouraging us to extend compassion that brightens overlooked lives. Moreover, it affirms that supporting hidden struggles strengthens our shared fabric, promoting a society where no one lingers in isolation. Seven, broader impacts on the community. The ripples of Kensington's homelessness crisis extend far beyond the tents and sidewalks. They seep into the neighborhood's collective psyche, reshaping daily life and long-term identity. Once known for its strong working-class character and industrial backbone, the community now grapples with a reality that feels both foreign and heartbreakingly familiar. The presence of widespread addiction and homelessness has created a constant tension between compassion and exhaustion. Longtime residents express empathy, but they also confess to feeling trapped, fearful for their children, wary of walking certain streets, and nostalgic for a safer, cleaner past that seems just out of reach. This emotional fatigue manifests in divided opinions about solutions, with some advocating for stricter enforcement and others urging greater investment in rehabilitation and housing support. Schools, once neighborhood anchors, are struggling too. Teachers in local districts report that students arrive distracted, some even homeless themselves, unable to focus amid instability at home. Neighborhood businesses, corner shops, cafes, and barbers face economic strain as foot traffic declines and customers avoid the area due to its reputation. A 2024 city survey found that commercial vacancy in Kensington reached 19%, nearly double the citywide average, underscoring the deep economic toll. Property values continue to slide, while insurance costs and vandalism complaints rise, deterring reinvestment that could spark renewal. Yet within this storm, pockets of hope persist. Faith groups host weekly meal drives. Community cleanups rally volunteers determined to reclaim dignity, block by block. Nonprofits collaborate with residents to open transitional housing units, transforming once abandoned buildings into places of refuge and healing. These local acts may seem small, but together they form the foundation of something profound, a quiet resilience that refuses to give up on Kensington's future. In my view, this reflects a deeper truth. When a community faces its hardest moments, its capacity to care defines its survival. Kensington's struggles mirror a national question: whether empathy can still overcome apathy in modern America. Eight, call to action. Now is the moment for us all to step up in Kensington's story, transforming awareness into tangible support that rebuilds communities from the ground up. With 2025 marking milestones like the Kensington Community Revival Plan, which has funneled over $15 million into prevention and intervention per city stats, individuals can contribute by volunteering with organizations such as grassroots food drives that serve 10,000 meals quarterly this year. Donate to funds bolstering affordable housing, where wait lists have shortened by 15% thanks to new subsidies, or advocate for expanded mental health access, now reaching 2,500 more residents through mobile units despite recent operational tweaks. Engage locally, join community meetings via the Special Committee on Kensington, which convened 12 sessions in 2025 to address synthetic opioid challenges or support harm reduction by sharing resources online. On a broader scale, contact representatives to push for sustained funding, as national fentanyl awareness efforts like the DEA's August campaign highlight the need for collective vigilance. U.S. Homeless Stories calls on viewers, like, comment, and subscribe to amplify these causes, sparking dialogues that drive policy shifts. What one action will you take today to make a difference? Shifting to deeper introspection, these calls remind us of our interconnected roles. How might your involvement ripple outward to foster lasting progress? In my estimation, this urgency underscores that action fueled by empathy creates waves of positive change, teaching us that united efforts can turn tides for the vulnerable. Nine. Personal reflections. Reflecting on Kensington's unfolding narrative in 2025, I find myself contemplating the profound humanity woven into these streets, where incremental shifts, like the wellness court's alternative pathways, serving over 300 participants since launch, offer glimmers of renewal amid enduring tests. Having immersed in U.S. homeless stories for years, the evolution here prompts thoughts on how small policy tweaks, such as the delayed mobile van guidelines, now optimizing service delivery to 40% more clients, reveal our capacity for adaptation and growth. These scenes evoke a sense of shared vulnerability, reminding me that stability is fragile, yet recoverable through community bonds. The drop in intense fentanyl phases nationally, as noted in OPB's March Insights, inspires optimism. But local voices ground me in the ongoing need for empathy-driven solutions. Pondering the diversity, from elders rebuilding routines to youth forging paths, highlights resilience as a universal trait, urging us to nurture it collectively. What lessons from these reflections can reshape your own outlook? As we wrap this exploration, these musings affirm our potential for positive impact. Through this lens, I've learned that reflection deepens understanding, guiding us to cherish connections that uplift all. Ultimately, it emphasizes that embracing such stories fosters personal growth, inspiring a commitment to kindness in everyday interactions. Conclusion. Kensington's story doesn't end with the statistics. It lingers in the human faces that line its cracked sidewalks, and the echo of footsteps that refuse to surrender to despair. Each corner tells a tale of resilience, of people trying to piece their lives back together, despite a world that often looks away. You see it in the weathered hands reaching for warmth on frigid nights, in the shared meals among strangers who have built families out of necessity. Hope, though fragile, flickers quietly here, like the faint glow of a street lamp that refuses to go dark. It's in these small acts of endurance that the heart of Kensington beats strongest. Over the years, this neighborhood has become a living testimony to America's contradictions: unparalleled wealth shadowed by poverty, ambition juxtaposed with abandonment. The city has poured millions into recovery programs, yet without addressing deeper social inequities, affordable housing shortages, access to healthcare, mental health treatment, the cycle continues. Many of those trapped in homelessness and addiction were once workers, students, or dreamers whose safety nets unraveled. Their struggles reveal the collective cost of a system stretched too thin to catch them. Still, through outreach projects like Project Home, Prevention Point, and the city's new wellness court, the first steps toward renewal are forming, though progress remains slow. As U.S. Homeless Stories continues to shine a light on these overlooked realities, we're reminded that awareness is only the first step. The next is empathy in action, volunteering, advocating, voting, and humanizing those who've fallen through society's cracks. Kensington may symbolize hardship, but it also represents an unyielding truth. Even in America's forgotten streets, the will to survive, to heal, and to hope remains unbroken. Change starts not with governments or policies alone, but with every individual who chooses to see, to care, and to act.